So now we have just a few more things to do. One is I want to make sure that object of the game and contents are aligned on the left side, along with this card colors and this get rid of all your cards before everyone else. So I'm going to select contents, and then I'll control click on object of the game. I'm going to control click on card colors, and I'll control click on get rid of all your cards. I'll get the move tool, and I want to align those to the left, and that way all the left edges are in the same spot. Now I'm going to turn off the icon for the white, and you'll notice that we have two sides and a top that we need to put text onto. Now we have 3, 2, 1 out already. I'm going to grab these two layers here, and I'll just right click and duplicate the layers. I'm going to leave it in this document, and then we're going to click and drag them out of that group. For these ones here, I'm going to select all of them. I'm going to come up here and choose new group from layers and name it back of box. Click OK. So we have the front of the box and the back of the box. Now we have 3, 2, 1 copy and out copy. So I'm going to double click on that one, and I'm going to make this 18 points. In fact, maybe I'll make it 30 points, so it's not so small. I'll click OK. I'll double click on out. I'll make that 30 points. Click OK. So now I'm going to grab these two, and using the move tool, I'm going to move them over to the side over here. And for the out, the 3, 2, 1, I'm going to hit Control T, and I'm just going to rotate it, and holding down the Shift key, I'm going to rotate it so it's at -90 degrees. I'll click OK. I'll do the same thing with out. Control T, come over here and rotate it, hold down the Shift key, -90 degrees, click OK. So now I want to move the out past the 3, 2, 1. So I'll move the 3, 2, 1 here, and I'll move the out next to it. And I do want to align those, so I'll shift click on both of them. And I'm going to align them to the right edge, and that way the bottoms line up exactly. So I have that one. I'm going to group those together, and I'll name that the left side. And then I'm just going to right click and duplicate the group. I'm going to name this right side. I'll get my move tool, and I'm just going to move it over to the other side. I'll hit Control T, and I'm just going to click and drag it around, hold down the Shift key, and that will rotate it around. So this one faces into and this one faces into if you're looking at it. Then along the top, all we have is the disclaimer. And our disclaimer is for 2 to 10 players, ages 7 and up. So I'll grab my type tool, and I'm going to click off of everything just so I don't mess anything up that's already on here. And I want to zoom in on this section. So I'll hold down the Z key, and that will let me make a marquee around the top part of it. And I'm just going to click and drag out a big box. And I'm going to put 4, 2 to 10 players. I'll hit enter, and ages 7 to adult. I'll hit Control A, and instead of 30 points, I'm going to make that, say, 24. Let me select the color here, and I'll make it black. And it looks like we need to make it a little bit smaller. For 2 to 10 players, ages 7 to adult. I'll click OK. Now, I do want to close this up a little, just so it's pretty tight. And then I'll use the move tool, and I'm just going to use the down arrow and then the left arrow just a little bit to get it right in the center of that top. So I'll hit Control 0. Now we need to put a background color, because we want a background color over the entire back here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my selection tool, and I'm going to draw in fact, I'm just going to go all the way out like that and make that selection around that glue area. Then I'm going to hold down the Shift key, and you notice when I hold it down I get a little plus sign. And what I can do is I can come over here and I can add to that selection. So I'm just going to add to the selection. That way I have two parts selected where the glue is going to go. So now I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to click on this icon here for a mask. So I'll click on the layer itself, and I'm going to fill it with a color. So I think what a color I'll use is maybe this blue here. And since that's the foreground color, I'll hit Alt Backspace. Now you see that it just covered that area, and we want the opposite. So I'm going to click on the mask here, and I'm going to hit Control I. I can also go to Image Adjustments and choose Invert, and that will invert that, so we just have these sections exposed. So because it's at the top of the layers panel, it's covering everything up. So I'm going to click and I'm going to drag it down just above that white. I'm going to choose just this layer, I'll group that, and this is the top of box. So now we have our main box, and then we have it colored blue, this nice blue color. And we maintain to where we don't get it on any of the glue surfaces. Now outside of here, on this gray area, it doesn't really matter if we have any of that gray showing up. We just want to make sure that we get enough space around where the glue is so it will show up there. And then I'm going to turn on the white because we don't want that thing that says glue and the colors showing up there. So I'll turn that on. So here's our box. So I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to Save As, and I'm just going to name this box. I'll go ahead and save it. Now we do need to create the back of the cards, and we're going to use the 3-2-1 out here with the 4 colors as the back of the card. So I'm going to go to File, Open, and I'm going to open that poker card, and I'll go back to my box. I'm going to select front of box. I'm just going to right click and choose duplicate group, but this time instead of keeping it in box, I'm going to move it to poker card, and I'm going to leave it front of box. That's fine. I'll come back to my poker card. You see it's way down here, so I'll get my move tool and I'm going to move it up into the center. Now I do want that same blue behind it to bleed out over the edge. So I'm right there on that layer. If I hold down the Control key and create a new layer, it will make it behind it, and that way I can fill it with that foreground color. So I'll hit Alt Backspace. And I do need to take this front of the box and center it on the page itself. So I'll hit Control A, and I'll use the centering tools here to make sure that that is in the exact center, the vertical center and the horizontal center. And that way I know for a fact it's in the exact center. So I'll hit Control D to deselect. Now if we look at it, you can see that it's the same amount all the way around. And that black outline is right on top of where that blue dashed line is. So here's our card back. So I'll go to File, I'll save it, and I'm going to save it as back card, and then I'm also going to save as, and I'm going to make a PNG file for back. In fact, I'm just going to name it card back instead of back card because it's a little easier to understand. So there's our card back. So now when we go in here and we look, here's our card back with a blue outline, and then we have all of our cards here. We have the box, and we forgot to save the box as a PNG, so I'll go to the box here, I'll go to File, Save As, I'll choose PNG, and we'll go ahead and save it. That way our box will be in here. Now all we have is the booklet, and we can do the booklet in Photoshop or InDesign. We're going to do both. In the very next video, we're going to do it in Photoshop. The video after that, we'll do it in InDesign, and then we'll upload everything to the website. So we'll see you in the next video.